Made it to executive member with National Rental Car, and here I am. I can pick any car in the row in Portland, and what did I choose? A Jeep Grand Cherokee. There was all kinds of things, Ford Taurus, the Ford Fusion, Toyota Camry, Hyundai Sonata, Nissan Altima, Nissan Maxima, minivans, SUVs, all kinds of things. And I chose the Jeep Grand Cherokee to figure to compare it to my Jeep. And very first reaction, I got in this Jeep, and the seats are awesome, way more comfortable than the Wrangler. So we're gonna try and go through. It's also got push button start, so no key, which is really neat. It's very, very nice. It's really, my first impression is it's extremely nice. It's a very nice place to be in this Grand Cherokee. Grand Cherokee up to Mount Hood. Gorgeous day, absolutely gorgeous. Listening to Alt J, love it, love it, love it, love it. Just an incredibly gorgeous day. I'm gonna take this Grand Cherokee a little off-roading today. Beyond Mount Hood is a lake called Badger Lake. Gonna check it out. I've been in this Jeep now for about a week, about 250 miles on it, and I'm up here close to Mount Hood. Did a little off-roading today and got some impressions. My first impressions were very good, and they've gotten better. This is a wonderfully put together vehicle. It uses the same 3.6 liter motor that's in my Jeep, my Wrangler, only it's direct injected in this vehicle, and it's coupled with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And it begs the question, how many speeds do you actually need? But in this, it works really, really well. The 3.6 liter in this with direct injection is much better than it is in my Wrangler. Throttle response is better, it's smoother, it revs quicker, it develops more power, and coupled with the 8-speed transmission, there's never a bad gear. The engine is always on its game, it's always in its peak torque, it's always got the right gear. Does it shift a lot? Yes, it does. It does shift a lot. But it's okay because the shifts are very smooth, very quick, very clean. It's a great drivetrain setup, even in four-wheel drive low and in off-roading situations. It's very well done. This vehicle is a joint venture. It was one of the last things that Daimler did when they were together with Chrysler. And this, the Dodge Durango, and the Mercedes, the new Mercedes ML, are all on the same platform. And you could really feel it. This is extremely high quality, very well built, solid vehicle, and it's fun to drive. It really is. It's the drivetrain is great. It's got an unusual, let me just see if I can point to this. This is the shift mechanism here. And it's a bit unusual. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Still, even after a week, I'm still not used to it. It's actually a switch, and it's not connected to the transmission. Let me just show you. I'm going to start this up. And we're in park, of course, right now. And it emulates, the problem I have with it is this thing emulates a regular gear shift knob. And they shouldn't try to emulate a shift knob. They should just either make it a switch or make it a real mechanism. So to put it into reverse, you just press it down once, and we're in reverse, and then neutral, and then again for drive. It's pretty smart. The drive selection is actually also the sport selection. If you press it down again, it's in sport. But then if I go back to park, and I go back to drive, it remembers that I was in sport, which is pretty neat. I like that. But this does take a little bit of getting used to. Dashboard is awesome. Let's see if I can flip this around here. It's got a nav screen. It's got a great stereo system. It's got a great climate control. It's got heated steering wheel, heated seats, air-conditioned seats. It's got a very interesting gauge cluster. One of the things I really, really like about it is how configurable. Let me shut this. How configurable this is. If I put this down into drive, actually that's sport, and you notice the little green flag is showing us that the sport is on. If we put it back to D, notice right next to the D is a little 1 that shows we're in first gear. If I hit flappy paddle, it takes us out of drive and puts us into first gear. There's second gear. It won't let me start anything above second. So if we flappy paddle it back to first, notice as soon as I put this thing, as soon as I make a gear change, the speedometer lights up red. says that the sport mode is on. And then also notice the center of the gauge cluster. I can choose any temperature display I want, which is great. You can keep an eye on the training temperature or the oil temperature. Really like the gauge cluster. What else? Let's do a quick walk around and show you the outside and the engine. I'm going to shut this back down again. I think it's a great looking vehicle. I really do. I think they did a great job with the lines. And the reason I say this is I have a passion for motorcycles. Yeah, I have a passion for cars and motorcycles, but today we're talking about cars. So it's a passion for cars. And I'm doing my normal CrossFit routine here up in Portland. And I was doing CrossFit the other night, and the garage doors were open to the gym. And I glanced outside, and I caught a glimpse of this car. And I actually got excited. I got excited that I was driving it. And it just looks great. I think they did a really nice job on the styling. I found a few Easter eggs, actually just one, right here in the headlight. There's a little 1940s Willys Jeep embedded in the headlight there, which is kind of cool. The problem I have with this vehicle is that there's so many of them on the road that it's not unique. And when you compare it to other vehicles, like a Range Rover Evoque, or a Volkswagen Touareg even, it's not as unique. If I picked up a bunch of rocks and threw them in the air in a parking lot, I would probably hit 12 of these things. And for that reason, I initially said I wouldn't actually own one. But after being with it for a week, I would buy one of these. This thing, equipped like it is, which is very, very well, is $42,000. My Wrangler was $32,000, and you could spend $42,000 on a Wrangler if you bet the Rubicon with all the bells and whistles. But this is actually a really, really nice vehicle. Hi, how you doing? This is as far as I go in the Grand Cherokee. I'm not going to hop over those rocks. Yeah, so what's interesting, I just commented on these rocks. This is what stopped me. I've done a little bit of four-wheeling here, and if I was in my Wrangler, I'd go right over those rocks. And there's a stream up ahead, and I'd continue exploring. But we're not going to do that. This is a rental, and this would never make it over those rocks. So for as good as this is, it's not a Wrangler. And it's nice that these things can coexist. This is very luxurious. It's fun to drive. And I think it's a good value. The Range Rover Evoque starts at that and goes up from there. Range Rover Evoque has got more unique styling. I think it's a great vehicle. My brother owns one. I've driven it extensively, and the Range Rover is great for what it is. It's 4-cylinder turbo, so very different torque characteristics. It's probably just as good as this off-road. This is right up there with it, and at $42,000, it's less expensive. I like this much better than the Acura MDX, which I've spent some time in. I like it. I dare to say this. The Volkswagen Touareg really impressed me. The first-gen Touareg with the V8 was very, very impressive. Is this better? I don't know. This is less money, and it's probably going to be less headaches, and it's probably cheaper to fix. But this is right up there. So we'll see if we can add some more to this on the way home. Right. Here I am in my favorite place, under the hood. This is the 3.6 liter Pentastar, same engine that's in my Wrangler. And I may have misquoted something. I said that this engine is direct injected. I don't know that. The injectors look the same as they do in my engine, so I'll have to clarify that. But it's still, I'm not sure why, but it produces way more power than in my Wrangler, and it's throttle response is better and it's way smoother. So I assumed it was direct injected, but we'll check on that. One interesting feature, it's got sorry about the hand. It's got electric power steering. There's actually a hydraulic pump there. Rather than tethering the engine with a pump, they decided to go with electric. I'm sure that's done for fuel economy, because they can control the speed and it doesn't tap any power from the engine. So they also changed some of the intake plumbing. My throttle body is here, that throttle body is there, And what else did they change? They moved, oh, the alternator. And the wrangle of the alternator is way up high and flipped around so that you can go through 36 inches of water. In this one, well, we will be doing that. So, yeah, I got parts off, checking out the engine here, and I'll clarify whether this is direct injected. One other comment about the transmission. So when you first start this vehicle up, the transmission, 8-speed tranny, it's got a normal drive mode, it's got a sport mode, and you've got floppy paddles that you can use it in fully manual mode. It's also got an eco mode. We know how much we love eco modes. So when you first start this vehicle up, it comes on in eco mode. You see the little eco light there. And oh, another quick thing is the navigation screen. When it first boots up, you've got quick touch icons for heated seats, heated steering wheel, air conditioned seats. Great idea. You don't have to navigate through the menus to get to them. You can click on that, or you can go into controls, and we can control. We have to have my new favorite feature in the world: heated steering wheel. And of course, I love to ride with my heated seats on. That's just awesome. And all your nav controls, your climate controls, your phone, there's apps. I mean, there's live traffic, there's satellite radio. I mean, this thing is fully loaded and really nice. It's very nice to use. Although Google Maps is still better, but this is fully voice integrated, and the center stack of the gauges come on and show you all the directions and turn by turn, and it's really quite good. But anyway, what I wanted to illustrate about the transmission was when it comes on in the eco mode, the transmission wants to shift in the highest gear possible as early as possible. Drives me nuts. Mapping is much better. You turn the eco mode off, mapping is much better. Nice predictive shifts, doesn't lug the engine, really well done. Sport mode, it's a sport mode. It truly is a sport mode. Loves to make the engine rev. A little bit too aggressive, unless you're going to race, and you wouldn't be racing a Grand Cherokee. It did help me out today in some of the off-road forest roads I was on. I preferred sport mode because it would bring the RPMs up higher, and then hill climbs it was better. Best thing about the transmission is the manual mode truly works like a manual. If you select 4th gear and you whack the throttle open, it stays in 4th gear. It will prevent you from over-revving it, and it will prevent you from lugging it. So if you're in 5th gear and you come to a stoplight, or 8th gear, it's hard to say that. 8th gear, you come to a stoplight, it'll shift you, it'll start you off in 1st or 2nd. It's not going to try to start you off in 8th. And the same thing on the upper end. If you redline this thing, it's going to shift, whether you have it in 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th. 7th at redline, I don't think it would do that. But anyway, it's a great transmission, and I know that they've ditched the 8-speed now for the 9-speed, which in the new Cherokee is, I don't know, I guess the more speeds the merrier. What are we going to wind up with? It's kind of like the new iPhone 6. You know, in 2020, is the iPhone going to be as big as a laptop? And same here. Are we going to have 29-speed transmissions going forward? I don't know. But this one's great. Love it. Love the combination, and it's a great vehicle to drive. And price point, I think they got the price point right. It's nice to see Jeep doing things like this. Hopefully Fiat won't screw it up. I'm going to amend one statement. I'm driving on Timberline Highway up to the top of Mount Hood, and the suspension is a bit soft. Both the Evoque and the Touareg were better handling vehicles. This ride's very nice. It's very luxurious.
Slight right in half a mile.
There's my navigation. But it's still a great car. Love it. A little bit soft. Perhaps the Overland, or perhaps with a different wheel and tire package. Only complaint so far, other than the automated shift lever, this is a little too soft.
Take the next stoplight on 20173, Timberline Highway.
Timberline Highway. Great road.